Hello, this is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and I'm stoked today. I apologize for being late, but I'm trying to save the world. And I really kind of mean that. I found out something big today, or at least I guess I found it over the weekend, and I don't remember if I mentioned it or not on the show, but I did confirm something that I had found out over the weekend regarding Prop 3 in Michigan and how there's a big debate of whether or not it affects parental rights, which everyone on the right knows that it does. The left is denying that. But I actually looked up some stuff that Democrats tried to pass in the past, and they totally tried to repeal parental consent. So that's just, the silver bullet, in my opinion. So we've been working to get that out today. So that's why I started a little late, because I've been working on different things, but I appreciate your patience. So I want to talk about that a little bit today. I know you guys are probably, if you're not from Michigan, perhaps you might be a little sick of it, me talking about it. But I sincerely believe if they pass this in Michigan, they're going to try to do it in other places. And even if you're from a different state, if your child wants to come up to Michigan and to get an abortion without parental consent or something like that, what are you going to do to stop them? So I think this really, you don't want it to be like an abortion safe haven like California wants to be. So it's important that we stop it. And you may know people from Michigan, but also I want to talk about Fetterman and Biden. They've just had some wonky clips about inflation. Fetterman's is just painful. Fetterman's family is so immoral for making this man go through all what he's going through in his condition. It's just cringe. It's such cringe. I mean, I'm sure he's doing it of his own free will, but his handlers, his campaign staff, his wife, they're not being kind to him, making him go through all this. And I'll show you an example. It's so bad, his interviews, because of his condition with the stroke. You feel for him, but at the same time, you're like angry at the people who are surrounding him. He's just not up to the task. He's just not. And I don't care what you say. He's just not. And I've got evidence. I think we've seen it, like stuff in the debate, but it just continues to go on. I don't know why they let him go on, even on CNN, to talk to Don Lemon. I'll just have to show you the clip. But we'll all talk about all sorts of things today. But before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, check out different articles. I did drop an article about like some bigotry from the left, religious bigotry. So you guys can go ahead and share that. What I'm about to talk about today regarding Prop 3, I did make a video to put on TikTok and other videos that are going to be short, condensed in a minute. I didn't have time to actually post it, so I'm going to post that afterwards. You guys can share that around. But I'm going to also put that in an article, which I think it's kind of immoral that the media hasn't really talked about it, but we're going to see if we can change that. But anyway, go to check out content on the website. Make sure that you guys are sharing, that you're liking, that you're following across all the different social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. Make sure my handle is at Black Tea News. The only one that's different is Twitter. That one's at True Black Tea. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, the link should be in the description. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com. And I, of course, got to give a shout out to Brighter Michigan PAC. They're doing such great work. doing such great work to fight the craziness in my state. I'm in their studio. If I say something today that triggers you, nobody cares. No one cares at all. No one cares in the least bit, and you can't. There's no one to tattle on to me with me. So anyway, also check out different merch that we have at the store, like the "I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For." There's the "My Money, My Business" tee that I really like. Constitution's Glorious Liberty document. I'll have more stuff up, especially through the holidays. Just been so busy with this election. But it's exciting ish. Like you're hoping for results. I saw somebody post a a GIF of Hawkeye from Endgame, Avengers Endgame, because they told him that there was a way that they could bring everybody back with Infinity Stones. Of course, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the film, they went back in time. But when they first found Clint, because he lost his family because of Thanos, he's like, "Don't give me hope." So there's a poll. Let me show you the poll today with Tudor Dixon in Michigan that they're technically tied, I guess, but she's pulling ahead just very slightly. The reason being because all these independents are breaking for Tudor. So that's very interesting. She also got a really big endorsement today by the Michigan Chamber. So that's really good for her. So she is picking up momentum when she really needs to, and the governor did awful in her debates for sure. So yeah, Tudor's picking up steam, but then under that, someone posted a gift that said, "Don't give me hope," and I can relate to that. I can really relate to that because I was just so sure that we were going to have a different result in 2020. I wasn't holding my breath for things to change after when people were fighting the courts and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of feel like God gave me a peace about it, not because it was gonna change or that was a good thing. Obviously, it wasn't a good thing. It was just like, don't pull your hair out over this. um, Other people, like I knew someone so stressed they had like an ulcer, or that was one of the reasons I think they had an ulcer, just worried about the election. I'm like, why are you so deeply troubled that you're like making yourself sick? But yeah, I'm just trying to do the work, focusing on doing the work. But this is good news. Um, but we just got to keep up the fight. We got to keep up the fight. And it's funny because there's some other polls by like New York Times and other stuff places that still have Democrats ahead by quite a bit. And then there's a narrative surrounding like these right-wing polls are like outliers trying to build like excitement, like there's going to be some big red wave. And so some of the ways that they're polling, like going, there's different ways that people have found that are more effective in polling. Like if you call somebody, are they going to give you an honest answer about who they're voting for? People have found like other effective ways in polling people, and New York Times kind of does it their New York Times Siena poll does it like I guess the old fashioned sort of way. So there's people saying that these are the polls that are right and these other ones are wrong. We'll find out on election day, won't we? But just go out and vote. That's the most important thing. Just go out and vote. I already posted this meme on social media. I don't know where it came from. My sister is the one who sent it to me. But there's a man driving, and there's like a billboard, and it says, "It's this election is classic driver's ed. If you put the car in D, you go forward, and if you put it in R, you go backward." And then the man goes in reverse. And I feel that because the Democrats have obviously not been doing a very good job as far as where our country is headed, um, especially on the local and on the federal level. So, with the truth with this election is, I don't know how much is going to get done like federally. I mean, Biden is such a he's going such a strong way with ideology that I don't know if he's going to be able to come and have a softer approach and work really in a bipartisan effort with the if Republicans get control in the House and the Senate, and kind of like Bill Clinton did. I don't know if Biden's going to have that in him to do it. um I mean, he's worked with people in the past. Obviously, he's been in the Senate for a very long time, but whoever is driving him, pushing them to do the crazy things that they're doing, I don't know how much he plans to really work and get good things that might be passed. I think the best case scenario going forward for the next 2 years is that the Democrats, I mean, that the Republicans return to being the party of no. That's what they said in the Obama era. They're just a party of no. I'm like, well, when you try to pass stupid stuff, they should be the party of no. They should be stopping really dumb stuff from coming forward. So I would like them to just block dumb stuff, pass things that are just necessary. You know, they have to pass budgets, make sure they're going to be big. They're always big, but try to not make them so big. And keep hammering the Democrats for as much as you can, and then when we get a Republican president in 2024, I'm sure things will be better on that front. But on the local front, there's a lot that we can do locally and try to stop the craziness that's happening. Now, you've seen some red turnarounds in places like Virginia, for example, um, that have that's a blue state, but it has had this big turnaround there. In California, there was one school district that people got like recalled. That was a good sign. Ron DeSantis is probably going to win Miami-Dade, which is fascinating. That's a very, very deep blue area. He's just going to like totally kill his reelection. Um, so there's hope all over the place. Now, my state, Michigan, we were ruled by a tyrannical leader for the past 4 years. The 2 years were the relevant, really tyrannical stuff, and I hope she's no longer going to be my governor, you know, next year. But I hope she loses, on Tuesday. That is my hope, and then we can start to see a turnaround. But in my opinion, I think if Gretchen Whitmer wins re-election, I think she's going to be like a top candidate to be the 2024 candidate. That's what I think, because they're probably going to want a woman from the Midwest. And being a Midwest woman makes it more appealing for them to go that route. And being a governor, I think she's going to be a top tier candidate. So if we put a nail in her coffin now, I don't think it's going to be good for us. Now, Democrats still like people to fail upward, but I don't. If she has like gets reelected, I think that's going to put her in a top tier, because she wanted to be VP. She really, really wanted it. People who I know her claim that she was so certain she was going to get it. Obviously, she didn't get it, but she did want it, and so I think that's going to be the route that they want to go. Kamala Harris isn't popular. Apparently, from her interviews and stuff, it seems like she's not all that bright. I don't think we're aware of how terrible some of her answers would be. I knew she was just fake, but a flake, but she's just awful. People don't like her. People don't like Biden, and Biden's not going to do it again. Let's be real. It's not going to be her. A lot of people wanted to be Pete. Pete's not going to get that far. He may like charm some Democrats and maybe a few independents. He's not going to be able to carry the day. So, I think that Whitmer is going to be a top tier candidate for 2024 if she wins a re-election. So everyone should be scared. Everyone should be scared about that prospect. And by the way, these are the kind of alerts that people are getting online as far as the election. And I think that there was one also that said it might not be done like in a day. I don't think those things are healthy signs of we're not a democracy, but I'll just use the word. I don't think I don't think that's a good sign that we have to wait so long. Like the Arizona race, it took them days to announce Carrie Lake had won, I think. Why? Now she's ahead in the polls, so she might pull it out pretty early. Who knows? But I don't think it makes. Oh, I guess it makes sense that it takes so long, but I don't think it should be taking so long. If you have a Secretary of State and they're just prepping you like, hey, we might not know who wins on election night. It might take a couple days. That's inappropriate. I think that's inappropriate, and you need to find a way to get this done in a day, in a night. It should not be spilling over, and having these like 3 a.m. ballots and water spilling and pipes busted. Like, to have, you're just going to create more conflict and suspicion. If you want to secure our elections and also secure the faith of the elections, get it done as quickly as possible, as accurately as possible. But prepping people that it's going to take all this extra time, that's just not appropriate. It is not appropriate. And if that's because they're having all these drop boxes and mail-in ballots as opposed to people going on the day, then maybe you need to rethink that. You guys know that I'm totally against early voting. I'm totally against early voting. I'm not going to go on a big rant to it about it today. But speaking of the election, I want to play this clip of Fetterman. That's on from CNN. It's just brutal, guys. It's absolutely brutal.
Well, let's talk about inflation, because that's a big concern for voters. What do you think the biggest cause of inflation is, and should the Biden administration be doing more?
No, I just do. I think that simply is also, let's talk about the trillions in massive tax cuts to the corporate tax structure as well. True. Trillions of dollars that have added to the deficit. And now they still want to support those as well. True. I think in terms of being very serious about addressing inflation is making sure that those rates are brought back into a line with what they should have been, where they're able to fight the deficit.
Guys, his family's so mean. His wife, his handlers, that's brutal. I don't know how bad his answers will be for that long. Like I've been saying, and everyone pretty much knows, we do not expect Fetterman to actually be there long in the Senate. But and I'm sure they already have a replacement. People speculate that his wife is going to be his replacement. That's not right. They knew he was sick during the primary. And I'll just say this again and move on. The Democrats should be so furious that they knew that he wasn't well enough to complete this race. And in order to secure it, he should have just stepped aside and have someone else win the primary so they could put up a better fight. He's already like a troubled candidate with all kinds of crazy stuff, policies and things in his past. He should have stepped aside. Politics, people don't like the two-party system or major two-party system. Of course, there are other parties and stuff, but it is mostly a team sport for a lot of people. And he is representing his party in that state, in that position. And for the betterment of their party, he should have stepped aside. I'd be so frustrated if I was a Democrat. I'd be so ticked off. And so a lot of them know that, hey, we got to go ahead and vote for him anyway, or else we're going to lose the Senate. People are going to lose the Senate anyway. Republicans have very close races all over the place. We're going to be picking up quite a few seats. It looks like we're going to get control of the House and the Senate for sure. And Pennsylvania is probably one of those seats. But that didn't have to be the case if Fetterman had stepped aside. So it's not just Republicans and Democrats who are going to be voting. There's people who are going to be independents, and independents who will watch CNN and see that but see that conversation with Fetterman, understand that they can't quite understand what he's saying, and realize after a deep sense of dread overcomes them that this man cannot represent them. And they'll vote Oz. Because Oz, if they look into Oz, Oz is not even like, he's not my ideal conservative. It is what it is. People should go ahead and vote for Oz if you're on the right. But so I think a lot of people will at least know that and hold their nose and vote for Oz too. It's just, I don't foresee Fetterman winning, but if they do, that would be remarkable. And Pennsylvania will only have itself to blame. Biden also said something about inflation. That was pretty remarkable and awkward.
And they talk about inflation. We're dealing with it for a whole second. Inflation is a worldwide problem right now because of a war in Iraq and the impact on oil and what Russia's doing. The war in Ukraine. And thinking of Iraq because that's where my son died. Because he died. But the point is,
What? It's now I know he believes that his son got cancer from like the pits and stuff. That's just weird to throw that out there and always. Speaking of Joe Biden, he tweeted this: the oil industry has a choice: either invest in America by lowering prices for consumers at the pump and increasing production and refining capacity, or pay higher tax on your excessive profits and face other restrictions. So I don't know if he knows how it works, or at least he's pretending otherwise, which, by the way, let's just flash back to this. Biden halts oil and gas leases, permits on U.S. land and water, January 21st, 2021. So here's the thing about Biden and fossil fuels and oil and all kinds of different stuff. If you're threatening to destroy their industry and you want them to pump up what they're doing, increase capacity, drill in other places, invest a lot of money in order to get their money back, because you do have to invest a lot to actually start this stuff. Why would they do that? You make it very unsure of how they can manage their business and continue their business when you literally have said you want to end them several times in the campaign. It's on video. It's on so much video that Trump, when he was campaigning like in the last few days or week or whatever, he would actually go to rallies with huge screens and just play clips of Biden. Now, why didn't people listen to that stuff? I don't know, because literally when he decided to stop the Keystone pipeline, there are people and unions and Democrats saying, oh, this is a betrayal. Why would he do this? Because he promised that he would. So he kept that promise. So these people in the oil industry, what are they supposed to do when they see this kind of threat? Just be like, okay, sure, we'll ramp it up and just lower our costs and stuff. And even if they don't listen to this and comply in whatever way he wants them to comply, and he just raises their taxes or whatever, and puts other restrictions on them, is he not aware that they could just pass off those costs to the consumer? How will this make the price go down? How will this make the price go down? This is just tough guy talk. This is just tough guy talk. And I doubt he tweeted this. So what's wrong with the idiots on his social media? Who is the idiot behind the Twitter page that's putting this stuff up? Because it's still coming from Biden. It's still representative of his page. So people are taking it as if he said it. Again, now I think Trump tweeted his own stuff out, but Biden's not tweeting all this stuff, I'm sure. But it might as well just come from his mouth. So what are these threats going to do? Even if you do restrict them, they're just going to pass off the cost. It's just going to hurt everyone's pocket at the end of the day. The oil companies have told Biden time and time again the things that he needs to do to help them, and he has ignored them and just basically called them greedy. And he's also called the people who are setting the prices at the gas station greedy, which is so ridiculous. I mean, there's a gas station that I go to very frequently where I live, and I went in there one day and I talked about the gas prices and stuff, and they said that it's so risky for them. It's such a risky business right now for them, and they're not barely making any money off of the gas. So they're just pointing the finger at everyone else except for them. Everyone else except for them. But of course, Biden doesn't control the gas prices unless he is controlling the price gas is. and doing things like emptying our strategic reserve. And then you have Chris Hayes on MSNBC saying, well, Biden has to do this because people care about gas prices and we can't have high gas prices. And because if gas prices are high, then they're looking at the high prices and paying the high prices, and then they don't want to vote for Democrats, and democracy is at risk. So they got to manipulate the prices. I told some people in my church that, and they were just like amazed at the manipulation and admitting openly the manipulation is pretty fascinating. Pretty fascinating. Another thing that's interesting going on right now is that the Supreme Court is hearing cases about affirmative action, and there's two different cases. One is pertaining to one is with like a private, not a private university, but like a public university. So they're having affirmative action. They're saying actually violates you know like civil rights and stuff, and because they shouldn't be able to discriminate against people of different races and have those preferences. And the other one is like the Harvard case, and I think it's pretty credible that they've been discriminating against Asians because they get in less Asians than they should, and they make them have to compete against each other rather than competing against everybody. And it really does hurt them. I had a conversation with someone once about affirmative action, and I was explaining why some people don't like it, particularly Asians, and then and they said, "Well, I just know that if it was my child, that I would want them to have an advantage." And I just kind of paused for a second. I'm just like, "That's because you're black, and you don't have an Asian child. You'd have a black child." So I understand like wanting your child to succeed in that manner with that extra help. If someone wants to give you an extra help, you could be behind mine and be like, no, or you could be like, I'll take whatever I can get. So I understand that, but I totally understand parents that see their kid working hard, getting these really high scores, and then in the end they're not going to get to where they need to be because they're actually going to be discriminated against, even as a minority themselves. And people always want to protect the other, but it will hurt that other group. So, but interestingly enough, Pew Research shows that a lot of people don't actually think that race should be a factor um, when it comes to deciding where people are going to go to college or college admissions. So with white people, they say 79% says that it's not something that should really be considered. Blacks 59%, 68% Hispanic, and Asian says 63% says that it shouldn't. And even the political parties don't really think it should be something that's really heavily considered. So Ketanji Brown Jackson is not going to vote as far as the Harvard one because she um, sat on their board or something like that. So she's not going to be, you know, she recused herself. That's something that she promised to do during her hearing, and that's something that she has decided to uphold. So that's good. But some people are really bummed that affirmative action is going to be no more. I saw a video with an elderly woman, and she was talking about how affirmative action helped her husband, get into college, and she talked about how other people were ahead of him as far as schoolwork because they had prep school and all this other stuff and he didn't. But she said that he burned the midnight oil and was able to keep up. He ended up graduating. She said so her kids didn't need affirmative action. Now I don't know how she knows that they didn't weren't helped by affirmative action. I'm not saying they needed it in because they probably I'm assuming they had money and resources, etc. Um, but unless she left that blank, how does she know that they weren't also selected because of affirmative action, even though she knows that they don't need it? Um, Now, maybe people should have to leave that blank, but I think a lot of people don't actually want to leave that blank. But we'll see what happens in that court case, but that's what's going on right now. Okay, big thing that I also discovered. Before I get to the whole Democrats lying, I want to mention that people keep talking about the Paul Pelosi story and how he was attacked in his home, and how they're trying to pin it on Republican violence and rhetoric. I want to remind you what an NBC host said about Rand Paul after his neighbor attacked him. Rand Paul was like mowing the lawn or something. He had headphones on, and someone attacked him from behind. And I've seen tweets, people like, "Where's Rand Paul's neighbor?" And people like cheering on Rand Paul. Rand Paul had to have surgery. He had like I think a punctured lung or something. So it was pretty serious, his attack. And it just seemed like people were coming for Rand Paul, because Rand Paul not only was attacked by his crazy neighbor, he was also among the Republicans that they tried to kill on the baseball field. And then after the RNC convention, the whole crowd of people who were like around him that left him in a very uncomfortable situation, and people mock it like he wasn't in danger. I don't know. I beg to differ when I see the video, but people can perceive or see whatever they want to see. But people coming from Rand Paul didn't make sense, because he's someone who actually like sponsored the Breonna Taylor Act and is someone who's very liberty minded, and you'd be better off trying to partner with Rand Paul on a lot of these police brutality issues than you would with BLM, but they didn't care. They just want to attack Rand Paul. But anyway, here's something that NBC host said when the story broke.
Today on the incident that left Senator Rand Paul with 6 broken ribs. This might be one of my favorite stories, although, of course, we don't want to. Clearly, Senator Paul is still struggling. Paul's neighbor, Renee Boucher, is accused of beating the senator.
Did you catch that? She said this might be one of my favorite stories, and she said, "Of course we." And I guess she was going to say we don't condone violence or something like that, but she just decided to keep moving forward with the story. So she just let it slip out how she actually feels about a Republican senator being attacked, and he was really injured from that. That was a serious injury that he had when someone attacked him from behind while he's like mowing the lawn. A crazy neighbor. It just was so unnecessary. But yeah, that's MSNBC for you. And that was not like some side host, a contributor. That was an actual like paid person. It's like on MSNBC. So just remarkable what these people do. But the thing that had me so excited this morning that I was working on, if you could just bear with me about the Prop 3 stuff in Michigan. So if you don't know, in Michigan, we have a ballot proposal that will change our constitution. It gives every individual the right to reproductive freedom, which includes all things related to pregnancy, not limited to abortion, sterilization, etc. So every individual obviously includes your children. Not everybody will make that connection, but it does include everyone. And there's nothing in there about needing any sort of parental consent. So the conversation has not been around whether or not women should be allowed to have abortions. Everyone has caught on to the whole fact that this conversation should be about parental rights and parental consent, because there's people who are pro-choice who still say that it goes too far. And even if their child were to be pregnant and needed an abortion, they would want to be there with them. And it's not right for them to be alone. And there's also things in it that say it protects people who helped the individual get an abortion or any of their, I guess, reproductive freedom, etc. So if that's the case, if something goes wrong, who gets punished? Well, the state can't penalize, prosecute, take any adverse action. So it's just a whole big mess. So the Democrats are swearing up and down that it protects parental consent. The prosecutors of Genesee, Genesee, Oakland, and Detroit cut a commercial claiming that it protects parental consent, or not that it doesn't. They didn't say that it protects parental consent, but they say there's already parental consent laws on the books, and this doesn't repeal it. I just don't see how that can possibly be true, because first of all, if you vote on your ballot will say that it invalidates conflicting state laws. That's what it actually says. I think I got it right there. Yeah, so it actually says that it will invalidate conflicting state laws at the bottom. So if you vote yes, you are agreeing to invalidate conflicting state laws. That is what you are agreeing to as a voter. So you can make laws regarding reproductive freedom, but you have to have a compelling state interest. And the compelling state interest isn't about whether the safety of the baby or whether how far along it is it's cruel to abort a baby at 24 weeks. That's not a compelling state interest. A compelling state interest is that it's done to protect the health of the individual, and not these are ands, not ors, and that it's clinical standards, and that it doesn't infringe on their bodily autonomy. So with even just the bodily autonomy argument, well, their autonomous decision making, I think, is the language. So even just with that one, it makes it very difficult to have any sort of abortion restrictions. But here's the kicker. Okay, so this weekend I was listening to interview, not interview, was a debate that Charlie LaDuff had, and he had the former Solicitor General talking about Prop 3, and then this Democrat lawyer who said some egregious stuff in general, but he didn't do a good job defending Prop 3. So he got waxed. But one thing that the Solicitor General said, that they won't tell you this, that they want to get rid of parental consent, but they've already tried to do it in 2019 and 2021. So I reached out to someone, I'm like, do you know what they're talking about? And they didn't. So I did a little digging, and what he was talking about specifically in 2019 and 2021, the Democrats introduced the Reproductive Health Act. And the Reproductive Health Act, pretty much the language is very similar to Prop 3. It has the individual, says individual. I don't think it says every individual, says individual, doesn't define what an individual is. It talks about the fetal viability in a similar way. It's very, very similar to Prop 3. But actually, it's a state law. It'd be state law. Prop 3 is an actual constitutional amendment, which would trump state laws. So it actually says in a section in there that it would repeal the parental the Parental Rights Restoration Act. So the Parental Rights Restoration Act is the act that requires parental consent for you. So if your daughter wants an abortion, they're 14, 15 years old, and those people, kids that age, also do have consensual sex. It's not just they were raped by their toothless uncle and stuff that Democrats want to go to. They do decide to have consensual sex. So let's say your 14-year-old got pregnant and she wanted an abortion. This law makes it so that she can't just go to a clinic and get it done. She would have to have permission from a guardian. And if she can't get permission from a guardian, the law does allow you to get a waiver. And if someone were to perform an abortion on this minor without parental consent or the waiver, then that would be a misdemeanor and they would be charged. So they wanted to repeal this in 2019 and 2021. They wanted to repeal it. And not only did they want to repeal it, and there are quite a few Democrats who sponsored the bill, ACLU defended it, and they said that they applaud Michigan lawmakers' introduction of the Reproductive Health Act. So they said that in 2019. And Planned Parenthood advocates of Michigan also were for it, and they said that the Reproductive Health Act ensures access to safe legal abortion in Michigan. It guarantees the people are free to make their own medical decisions without certain politicians interfering, while repealing dozens of Michigan's outdated abortion laws. So they think parental consent laws are outdated. And as a matter of fact, on their website, they do mention different things that it would do. Here's what it said. The bill also repeals and updates Michigan's outdated and unconstitutional laws restricting access to abortion so that it is treated like all health care with regulations that reflect current medical standards. the RHA removes medically inappropriate regulations requiring facilities that provide abortions to be licensed as freestanding surgical outpatient facilities, increases privacy and safety for minors seeking an abortion by removing the parental consent requirement. So this is something that Planned Parenthood thinks is a good idea, to remove parental restrictions, removes barriers to state and federal funding for healthcare entities that also provide abortion. So they think that your taxpayer dollars should also fund it. Repeals laws that require patients seeking abortion to receive biased, medically inaccurate information. They don't want their patients to have true informed consent. Lifts restriction on abortion that force patients to undergo a state mandated 24 waiting period, ensuring they can get the care they need without undue delay. So they don't want any sort of restrictions with the time. So the reason why we have 24-hour laws is so people can get some information. Like, you have to go with our consent laws, you have to go to this website and you have to read through, like, what is the procedure you're getting done, information about the fetal development, etc. Now, you don't actually have to read through it. FYI, it's not like they give you a test, but you do have to click on the stuff. I don't think it's enough, but they're saying that if you're like, oh, I'm distressed or something, you go in Planned Parenthood, you should be able to have it right away, which is just absolutely egregious and immoral, because the Turnaway study that the Democrats love so much, 96% of women who are turned away from abortion don't regret not getting an abortion within like a span of 5 years. But actually, just the first week of women being denied, they don't regret not getting the abortion. So if women could just feel differently just after a week, I think it's pretty immoral to at least not have a 24-hour wait period, but they just want to kill more babies. I had a friend I got into an argument with, and he's like, nobody wants to kill babies. I'm like, that's not true. And I said, told him, I said, I don't think you want to kill babies, but I think it's sad that you don't mind. But there are people who want to do it. Planned Parenthood wants to do it. That's their business. They also said it prohibits criminal punishment of pregnant people for actions they take during pregnancy that would not otherwise be made criminal or punishable. Lifts the ban on private insurance coverage for abortion. That's interesting. Because in California, they wanted to make Christian like insurance stuff and companies pay for abortions. So abortion is not between a woman and her doctor. When they want everyone to participate in the sacrilege of it. And removes unnecessary barriers for accessing abortion via telemedicine, which there's a lawsuit going on, or at least I think it was reported on recently, but maybe it happened last year. And I think maybe Live Action maybe reported on it, if not lifesite.com, but maybe it was Live Action. But there was a woman who got diagnosed, who was talking to Planned Parenthood over the phone, and they thought she was 6 weeks along or something. So she got abortion pills, but her baby was like 32 weeks or something, like really, really far along. And so she gave birth to a stillborn baby, which very dangerous. I don't know how you missed the mark that much, but they were suing Planned Parenthood for that. So I'm not okay with the telemedicine stuff, man. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff that they supported in the 2019-20 particularly this is from 2021. So that's what they support. That's what they support. So the ACLU and Planned Parenthood both support Prop 3. And we're just supposed to pretend that all these things that they think are outdated, these laws aren't going to get shot down. They absolutely know they will. If it doesn't happen automatically, they're going to have lawsuits waiting to make them get taken down. They absolutely think that your minor should be able to go get an abortion without your consent, without your knowledge, that they should be able to do it instantly, not have any wait periods, not have to get any sonograms, not have to be told like any information regarding the baby's fetal development, etc. They don't want any of that. They just want to keep their business going. And I think that's really egregious. Why do we support organizations? I know people always say like, well, I got this done at Planned Parenthood and they gave me birth control and and all this other kind of stuff. I understand that, but there's other clinics or whatever we can support that will do all those things. But this is an organization that pushes for abortion, regardless of how we feel about it. Don't you think that abortion isn't a good thing, and it's bad when people try to make more of them happen? I think that's a bad thing. So anyway, I think I got them dead to rights, because obviously this is what they want done. The Democrats want parental consent repealed. There's evidence. They've already tried it. So will be the third attempt. This will be the third attempt. So that's news information that we're trying to get out there, and I'm going to keep pushing it out there. And they are just some bold-faced liars. And another thing, interesting thing about the Charlie LaDuff broadcast is that he tried to get the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, people who started the amendment thing to go on a show. They wouldn't come on. He tried to get some other Democrats to come on. They wouldn't come on. He tried to get the prosecutors who were cutting the commercials to come on. They wouldn't come on either. So he got who he got. The Republican, or the conservative rather, lawyer totally won the day. But I'm so grateful that they had that, because that's how I found out about this information. It's too bad that this was the conversation that we were having earlier, but hopefully it's not too late to alert people to how these Democrats are trying to deceive them. If you actually believe that your minor should be able to go get an abortion without your consent, then I guess you're still going to vote yes. And man, there's some crazy people I've talked to, at least online, and who knows if they're even adults, who think that they still should be able to do that. But most people don't think that you should be able to do that, and that is why they're lying about it. They really went too far with this. They really, really did. And I'm glad to help shut them down, and hopefully we will win the day next Tuesday. So anyway, that's what I've been fighting for and been up to, and I was excited to get a break with this information, because I do think it's a game changer. But anyway, that's all for today. I thank you guys for joining me, blacktnews.com. Please go to blacktnews.com website to drop in your email, check out where I'm on all my socials. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com. It costs to stream. It costs to run my website. It costs to travel. It costs to do all sorts of things. So if you could help with the overhead, I really much appreciate, whether it's $10, $20, $50. If you do more, I very much appreciate it. God bless you. Otherwise, I thank you for liking, for sharing, subscribing, adding people, telling them to watch, etc. Check out different merch on the website, like the Denounce White Supremacy, Defeat Joe Biden, with a list of his atrocities on the back. The My Money, My Business, which I made this shirt because I was so annoyed with people continuously talking about pro-choice issues. And I'm like, but you want my taxpayer dollars involved. So that's why it's My Money, My Business. So go ahead and check out other stuff we have, but God bless, and I will see you guys tomorrow.